Everybody, drop your buffs.
Drop your buffs.
Everybody, drop your buffs.
Drop your buffs.
Everybody, drop your buffs.
Hello and welcome to Drop Your Buffs podcast, where we talk about the strategy, social game, and stupidity of every episode of Survivor. I am Djon Hannah, one of your hosts, and I'm here with my co-host, co-star, Hannah Zilia Fleming. How are you?
Oh my gosh, Djon, you're here for the loved ones visit. Oh my gosh, I missed you so much.
I miss you every day with all of my being. Every day I'm out here, I'm thinking of you every single day.
You could just text me. I'll get it later.
Okay. Do you think I smell? Do I smell? Do you think I smell?
You're my little babushka.
Like, how long can we keep this going for?
I don't know, but I am so pumped to talk about this loved ones episode. I waited all week for it, and I know that there's strategy to talk about. I know there's the vote to talk about, but all I want to do is talk about the loved ones.
I mean, it was a pretty pivotal moment in this season because we already have attachments to these contestants from their previous seasons. We've seen half of these loved ones already. But what we haven't seen before is the kids. I think it completely changed the dynamic.
Oh my gosh. There were so many iconic things about this loved ones visit. There are things we've never seen before. So one thing is we got to see the loved ones sit with their family members on the bleachers. Usually they hug, they talk to Jeff, and then they separate. But they sat together. There was no challenge. That's never happened before. There's more than one person that came out to visit them. That's never happened before. And as you said, there were babies. There were babies on Survivor.
And I'm here for it. Like, for me, like, if you're going to have a loved one's visit, there has to be some kind of sentimental value there. And honestly, when so-and-so's coach from yada yada, like, that to me doesn't really resonate with me. I'm a sensitive person, but I also value what it all encompasses. Like, I'm not going to be brought to tears because somebody saw somebody that they haven't seen in a month, which they probably wouldn't see for a month anyway. So
whereas, I know. You're like, okay, it's been a month, so what? But here I am, because you live that narrative. Like, you don't see your family for months at a time.
Yeah, I mean, I still can communicate with them.
Yeah.
We're also not big huggers anyway, so it's not like we would embrace like that. Like, even if my families came out for a family visit, we'd probably do like a one-armed hug or something. I probably would give them a
beautiful side hug.
Right, we wouldn't be attached the whole time. Probably more like, Michelle and her sister. That kind of interaction.
Yeah, but I mean, it just comes into play how mentally distraught these survivors are. They are at this is, what we both love about Survivor is these people are pushed to their limit. They are in the most intense game of their lives, and they are so, their reactions are so crazy because they have been they've been in a war. Oh my gosh, Jeff Probst would love that I just said that. But they've been at war fighting. Oh man, Jeff Probst would be dying over how much I'm talking about the war right now.
Get a copy of this podcast, send it his way, and just let him weigh in, and just be like, this is Hannah, just a heads up. But were there any standout moments for you? Like, I can definitely name at least one moment from every contestant with their loved ones visit that I was just like, wasn't that just an awesome moment?
Yeah, let's go in order of all of them and let's talk about, I guess, what we loved about each visit or something that stuck out to us. So first up, all right, I recorded it on our podcast. I posted a picture of every time I cried on our Instagram, and I was like, all right, I'm going to take a picture of every time I cry. Maybe I'll have 2 pictures that I'll post. Nope. I pretty much posted a picture for every person that came out. So Kim's family comes out. I lost it.
Right. They were also little. They were 3 little ones that were a little hesitant. They didn't really know what to say.
They were rubbing their eyes. And here's where I lost it. When she said, I think about you guys all day, every day. I was like, oh, okay, there we go. And it happened on the second time I watched it too. Lost it. Then so we had her kids who were shy, but then Ben's
Mhm.
daughter runs out.
Oh, that was one of my favorite moments when she just super pure just runs out and just screams surprise, and it's just like, okay, this is what I love about loved ones visits and just families, and I shouldn't say loved ones visits, I should just say loved ones in general.
Yeah. So I guess right now I'll share, I don't know if you saw my tweet. I think I sent it to you. I had a tweet take off during this episode.
Yes, I did see this.
So at this point of when I was watching the episode, I realized that all these families, well, so we've had Kim and Ben, when they're hugging, they're all kneeling on the ground and they're all in one giant hug, both of the parents and the kids. And I realized this is what we see in Pixar movies. And I always thought that it was completely unrealistic. You see it in The Incredibles, you see it in Inside Out. When families are having this big emotional moment in these animated movies and they hug and they're all sitting on the ground and hugging. And I just thought that is so ridiculous. And then when I'm watching this episode, I was like, oh, I guess in these really intense emotional moments, families do all just hold each other and sit on the ground.
Yeah, especially when it's being televised for millions of people to watch.
So we're seeing like movie moments happening on Survivor.
Yeah, and I'm here for it because like that for me was just kind of like when you see into the real lives of the people who play characters on a show, it kind of like lets you not villainize them for a moment. And in that moment, I was just like, that's so sweet that Ben's daughter would run out to him and feel so excited to surprise him like that. And
yeah, because a lot of people have been annoyed by Ben for this season. I mean, I haven't been one of them. Dion's been one of them. Just like he's been annoying, and then you're like, oh, he's a great dad. Okay.
Yeah, outside of everything. Who was after Ben?
Sophie comes out, and Jeff says when they hug, Jeff goes, "That's a hug." I'm like, what? Jeff, you're so weird.
Okay, so it may not have been specifically Sophie's moment when they embraced, but all of her moments throughout the loved ones visit were probably my favorite.
Yeah,
including her looking at her boyfriend Bobby saying, or fiance saying, "Do I look like a supermodel?" That was one of them.
What do you think would make her look like a supermodel? Is it because she's tan and beachy? Is that what it is? What makes you a supermodel
absolutely.
out there?
Tan, beachy, dropped so much weight. Like
cut
like,
to the picture of her voting that came out as a secret scene of her vote for who did she vote for? Tyson? Denise. She votes for Denise, and her face looks like a mugshot. So I love that. Do I look like a supermodel? Cut to the mugshot.
And my other favorite moment from her was when they found out that they were all going back to camp, and she literally threw her arms up in the air, and then they pan out, and all you see is that you don't even catch it. It's that quick. She hits her fiance in the face with her arm, and immediately looks at him and says, "Actually, sorry, I hit you." And like that was just for me one of the funniest. She just fun moment on fun moment on fun moment, including her walking back to sit down with her fiance, saying Reese's Pieces and
massage.
She goes, massage. She goes just a list of things that she wants when she goes home. Like it's seeing somebody really just enjoy someone and let their guards down and just have her.
Yeah, because we've seen Sophie with her guard up this whole season. We've seen GameBot Sophie, which I'm cool. So I'm cool with GameBot Sophie. So it was cool to see that. Yeah, like the human side of her. Speaking of GameBot, next up we had Sarah, and when I posted on our Instagram, I said, "Robot Sarah has emotions." That killed me. Seeing someone. The character we see in Sarah is that she's tough and she will come after you, and then we see her losing it over seeing her husband and son. I lost it.
Well, they said partner, which I caught, and I was like, I wonder if they're even married.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just like, okay, it's 2020. We've got a lot of different family environments out there. But it's like seeing her son, and then the moment when her partner tries to take her son back, and she just looks at him with daggers. Like
don't you dare!
The pure look of, what are you doing? Like, what do you think this is? No! Like, and Jeff just has to speak for her because her face says everything else, and it just reminds me of our dear friend Desiree, and I can just see her.
Our friend who looks like Sarah.
Absolutely. And just looking at someone being like,
Are you
what
kidding
is
me?
even going on in your head right now
What
that
are
makes
you
you think that this
thinking?
is a good decision? But that was just such a fun moment for me.
Can I stop and talk about strategy for a second when it has to relate with Sarah?
Is this the clip when they're at the island and she's talking about her son?
Well, no. Well, I want to talk about how we got on my rewatch. I caught how we got a lot of clips of Sarah and Sophie hugging while they're waiting for their
Mm-hmm.
loved ones to come out. They just keep
Mm-hmm.
hugging and they're crying into each other's arms, and we know
Yeah.
that they're close. But we also know
Right.
that Sarah in Game Changers was known as slitting the throats of her best friends. I don't know if that's too graphic,
Right.
but so I wonder if, we're seeing them super close. I wonder if we're going to get a storyline of Sarah stabbing Sophie in the back, because that would be that'd be
Final
her thing.
five.
You think
Final
so? So anyways,
five.
I
That's
wanted
my
to note that right here when we see them really close and really bonding, but
right.
Sarah don't care. Sarah will take out whoever she needs to take out.
Right. Well, I mean, she said it herself when we saw the clip of them at the island, and she's like,
Yeah.
what she said was really interesting. She said, "My son is playing with the enemy,"
Mm-hmm.
and you just see him playing with all of the other kids, and you're just like, "Wow, she really does think that everybody else out here is, what's the word I'm looking for? Like
Against
enemy,
her. Yeah, enemy.
yeah,
And it's just like children
public
playing in
enemy
the
number
ocean.
one." Yeah. And it's just like, wow, like I get, and she's like, but we have to have these real life moments. And she's the
Yeah.
one that they take a lot of her confessionals to remind us that there's a game, but there's real life. There's a game, but there's real life. And she's kind of coming across as that like voice of reason this season. I think Sarah is the voice of reason this season.
Yeah. And it's just what a turn. Okay, so next up we have Denise, and I just love how she like flapped her fists around. She's like so excited. She's flapping her arms. And then Jeff says, "That is a family hug." Okay, Jeff, we get it. We know what hugs look like. We know that they're a family. Got it, Jeff.
And it's so interesting to me because obviously she's the one out there with the oldest. Well, I mean, we don't know how old Jeremy's daughters are. But
probably not. Maybe 16. Actually, you're right.
Right. And I mean, but her daughter is essentially a woman. And when she says she's
so
like
tall.
15 and a half, I'm like, are you kidding me? Denise
She's
is
not
like,
in college.
I think it just put into perspective to me how small Denise is.
Yeah, Denise is tiny.
A lot of the time when we saw Denise talking to people, it was Adam, and Adam's not the tallest person.
No.
So I think I always just, but in saying that probably means that Denise is closer to my height. And then I'm just like, how tall is her daughter? I'm like,
her husband is tall too, so.
Right. Well, I mean, genetics, they'll do that kind of thing. But it was just nice to see somebody with like an adult child, so the adult child was able to weigh in on their dynamic with the parent. And it was just a really sweet moment.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to quickly kind of like segue. When Australian Survivor has those moments and they've got the kids there and then, they're asking.
Yeah, because Australian Survivor has done it before where they've had children out there way before US did.
That bugs me so much because I'm like, don't put the kids on the spot. This is a tough enough, situation already.
Mm-hmm.
And, they'll be like, so what do you think about, your dad? Well, he's my dad. And like, don't do that. And like, it was really nice that Jeff didn't do that to these kids.
Yeah.
It was just like he approached the people that old enough to kind of put together a coherent sentence, and it wasn't just a moment to just give them like 5 seconds. And he let the parents interact with the kids rather than doing it himself. That for me was a much better way to structure that kind of interaction.
Yeah, that Jeff is a family guy. He loves the children, that's for sure, and he loves hugs.
Mm-hmm.
The next hug, in my opinion, was very awkward. Nick's fiance comes out, and she's gorgeous, but you could tell how nervous she was and how awkward it was. Do you agree? Did you catch the awkwardness? Did you cringe like I cringed?
As soon as she walked out, I'm like, is she happy to be here?
I know, but you just think, okay, if someone is extremely camera shy, then they would be acting like she's acting. But yeah, you're also like, is she okay?
Yeah, and it just kind of like, we saw Bobby run out to Sophie. We saw a very different dynamic there. But like, I can see it being one of those situations where you're shy, the cameras are on you, you don't want to look silly, Like, there's a lot of pressure on you to just kind of like make this like
I
the
know.
perfect moment
Yeah.
and, you know, not get too involved. And it was a little awkward, but I don't know. She didn't come out for his loved one's visit.
No,
the
his
first
dad
time.
did. And that it was it was so sweet when his dad came out for David versus Goliath. He was this big burly man and Nick just looked like a child hugging him. It was precious. Do you remember that?
I think there was there was potentially discussion about his mother, like, and how they hadn't really grieved over that.
Yeah, it was, you know, like who said it in this episode? It was a full circle moment. I think Adam says it about, well, you know, kind of on the same
Probably with his
yeah. After Nick comes a very emotional Tony. When Tony broke down once again, we've just seen these game players. It was,
and you know what?
precious.
The second time watching Tony, I was like, Hannah's gonna be loving watching these big grown men crumble to their knees. Like, that's just, I can hear Hannah saying it now. I love when a big man just kind of like falls into a puddle of mud.
And that's what I said. Didn't I just say? Yep, that's what I love.
Like, but for me, I think the moment that got me was when Tony was on the floor, his wife runs up, his daughter runs up, and his son so innocently kind of just like tries to peek through to see if he's okay and like get in there. It was just like such a like, is he okay? Can I hug him? Like, he's probably never seen his dad like this.
I mean, seriously,
like,
they probably have never seen him cry even.
Under what circumstances would they need to see a family member like this? They've probably never been apart for this long, and it would never have been as heightened.
This is kind of bad, but I'm laughing at the idea that this might be a traumatic moment for some of these children. Like, this should be like a beautiful moment, but it might also be like a very startling moment in their lives where they see their parents emaciated, bawling their eyes out and dirty. They're like, this is terrifying.
You know, if you see Kim looking like completely worse for wear, red-faced, tears in her eyes, looking panicked, as a kid, I would have burst into tears. I would have been so distraught.
So, man, that makes it it makes it even more better that they didn't have to have a challenge and leave. I'm glad that they gave this moment for them to go to the beach and have a good day, to have those memories with their parents.
You want to have good memories.
Okay, so next up we have Tyson and then Jeremy. So, I skipped Michelle. I skipped Michelle and her soulmate, her sister, which actually that was so sweet. That did make me cry when she called her sister her soulmate. Because, you know, as you're single, I'm single. It's just like, you know what? Y'all have your soulmates, but we have our soulmates too. Like, we can have people that we miss.
I think what was really special for me as well was it was her sister who was the one to break down. You know, it wasn't necessarily her.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like, this means something to her as well. You know, this isn't just, you know, she's probably so proud of her sister because, look, Michelle's probably said to her sister going out there, I've got something to prove.
Yep.
You know, and I want to make sure I get the loved ones visit, and I want to do this and I want to do that. And so for her sister to be able to come out thinking that the people who aren't still in the game are not going to get to have a loved one's visit, you know, and she's probably like, I'm so proud of you that you're here at this moment. This is awesome. Keep it.
Yeah.
So that was really, really special.
The humor of Tyson's loved one's visit, when he was explaining his job to Bergen, I loved every second of that. I think Tyson is the funniest survivor ever.
Yeah.
And I loved every second of that.
And like Jeff kept on like trying to like get Rachel in on the picture.
Oh, I know.
He's like, get in. But for me, it was more authentic having her say, no, I love watching this. Because I've heard that from people before. You know, they love watching their partner with their kid. Like, that's just such a special moment for them. And so, you know, we know that they played a season together. They ended up on a different reality show about, you know, couples.
Marriage boot camp?
Yeah. So they obviously had their trials and tribulations, you know, post playing Survivor and, you know, all of this stuff. And they've since made a family. And this is clearly something that's very important to them and very special to them. So for her to just be able to observe that, that's really special.
And one thing of note about Tyson, it's funny that he was the one who began this whole process of getting children out to visit because he really wanted his daughter to visit. But they were the reason why his other daughter was not out there. I just assumed it was because she was too little. But then we saw Natalie's niece, who is a tiny baby. Well, Tyson put on his Parvati's baby. Tyson put on his Instagram that they did not get a passport in time for his daughter. He was about to leave, and he even signed this, I forget what this document was. He even had a document in place saying that he, as the guardian, was giving permission for her to travel, but if it wasn't good enough or something. Like he had thought that they had put everything in place, but he didn't find out till right before he left that it wasn't in place for his daughter to come out.
Well, at least he found out before he left, so he wasn't
disappointed. Oh gosh, yeah, that's true. And then comes, I believe, just the sweetest loved ones visit. It's my favorite loved ones visit from Survivor Cambodia. It was Jeremy's family coming out.
Okay. See, it was one of the more awkward ones for me.
Really? What was awkward about it for you?
I don't come from like a really pump up kind of family. And like when he yelled at the beginning, and I was just like, this is really aggressive. Like for me, a loved one's moment is really sensitive and
like the Michelle and her sister situation.
Right. And just like really tender and soft. And it was a very hard, like they all ran and they embraced him. But the most awkward moment was, you know, they're talking about their sons, and then Jeff said to his wife and their daughters, and she goes, this one. And this
Jordan.
one. Like,
these guys.
And I was like, oh my gosh. Clearly someone's been acting up at home since dad's been away, and mom's had enough. So for me, I was like, this is a little awkward. So the fact that you're like, this is your favorite one, I'm like, ooh, like.
Okay, yeah, that part was awkward. But once again, my favorite thing is this big, tough guy collapsing into his family's arms. Like he looked like he wasn't even on the ground. He looked like he was fully leaning on them. And then when we hear one of the girls says, "You can do it, Daddy," I was just, I lost it. It was very sweet. And then also just the lead up to like Tyson and Jeremy's family coming out. We kept on getting shots of them just like trying to hold it together while they're waiting. Like their eyes are just welling up, and that even just makes it more the anticipation. What did you think of the psych that there was going to be a challenge?
I mean, I think that was important because they needed to have that, like, if they didn't set up a challenge, if they didn't even allude to there being a challenge, then they're just like, our loved ones are here, let's go. Like it just kind of enhanced it. It's going to be an even more.
Oh my gosh.
We wouldn't have had that awesome moment of Sophie elbowing her fiance in the face. Like,
and also on the rewatch, seeing Kim burst into tears. She was like holding her face. And this just... I was watching at home thinking, all of the parents who are watching this episode at home right now with their children that they've been quarantined with for about 3 weeks now, and their kids are on their ever-loving nerves. Every second nerve is being pushed by their children. It was great for them to watch this episode of these parents who are so excited to see their children. It's like, remember what you have at home. Remember that you love your children.
They're probably watching the same thing with their own families going, remember when I missed you? Probably. That was a nice moment.
Let's go back to that. So did you see the Edge visit coming? I think we've kind of alluded to this.
Yeah, I knew about this in advance.
Yeah,
I didn't know for sure.
I didn't think we would see it, but I would be really, I don't know. I loved seeing it. I was going to be really sad if we didn't see it in the episode because I thought it was a beautiful moment.
I think this is the loved ones visit that I need to weigh in on, because for me, the loved ones visit in the game, the loved ones visit on Edge of Extinction, holy moly. I love the Edge of Extinction. I know a lot of people hate it, but for me, it is, if you could split up the current game and the Edge of Extinction game into two different series. Yeah. I'd probably watch Edge before I watched the regular episode of Survivor.
Wow. So what pulls you in about the Edge? What is the reason?
It's just more nuanced for me. It's just like raw people, real emotions, real feeling, less less kind of character driven, like when you're in the game, people put up these vibratos for confessionals and yada yada. When you're on the edge, you don't need to put up a vibrato. This is how I'm thinking. This is how I'm feeling. I'm miserable. I care about this. I love my loved ones. I want to do the best that I can do. Like, it's just very encouraging and heartfelt, and
I just love how you said the word raw. Like raw. It's really I don't know, you could feel the feelings from them a lot.
Yeah. I mean, so what we saw was they noticed, like you hear Yul say, is that something on the horizon? Everybody's kind of like looking out, wondering about it.
Did you catch what Ethan said?
Well, yeah, no. So Rob and Ethan have a moment where Rob says, "I hope it's something good," and Ethan goes, not bad." And Ethan said, of course it's going to be bad. It's the edge."
I know, it's the best part.
It's never anything good. And so, and then to have Natalie everybody's just kind of looking, and Natalie's like,
Natalie's
pushes through,
reaction,
inquisitive, and to have her, I'm so glad we saw the footage of her being like, "Oh my gosh, it's our families." Cut to the moment that got me, which Amber just launches herself off the shelter. We really haven't seen that much urgency in Amber.
No.
Amber's pretty cool, calm, collected. She just launches herself. And for me, that was just that internal, maternal moment of mama is here. Her babies, it's that, just that animal instinct of the mums protecting their little ones. She launches herself. Cut to Danny standing on the beach. Hunched over.
She's not running. She's just stuck in one spot. She couldn't move.
Because you know what? It means even more to them.
She's so emaciated. She can't even.
But they weren't expecting it at all. They'd missed out on the loved one's visit. They'd written that off. So this for them is a shock to the system. It's not a matter of when. It's a matter of it was never going to happen. So just to have all of these loved ones on that island and not seeing them being these forced interactions, they just get to embrace each other in the ways they want to embrace each other. You see everybody in the background. That for me was, that was perfect. That's what I need every loved one visit. Because for me, that meant the real thing to me.
I love the editing style of The Edge. I love the zoomed in, close up, slow motion videos. I think that it just really shows that emotion, and with the music, it's just so we got a zoom in of Amber holding her daughter's face, and Parv with her husband and the baby. The one slow-mo that I did not enjoy was Ethan kissing his wife, because every time that we saw a couple kissing out there, it made me gag, because I imagine how gross that the survivors are. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Why do you keep kissing? This is so gross.
Because they love them, Hannah, and love sees it doesn't have any boundaries. It doesn't. They just love each other.
Love tastes nothing. That's what the phrase is, right?
No, right? Absolutely.
It smells nothing. It tastes nothing.
Right. The edge loved ones visits really kind of got me. That took me to a place of these people at their lowest point, the worst of the worst, and this was the best thing they could experience. Even just having Ethan sitting there with his wife saying, "I don't ever want to be away from you. You are the only thing that matters to me, ever."
I thought that he was they were sitting right by the the flag. And I thought, the way he was setting that up, I was like, oh my gosh, he's about to raise the flag right now.
That's so fun. I didn't actually think about that, but I can see how that would have
in that context
made sense.
Yeah.
And it's so for me, it's just even just hearing from Parvati being I met my husband because of Survivor. It's not just Amber and Rob out there, and even Rob got to say, my kids get to see what I've been doing for the last 20 years. These are really special moments.
That's the best part, I think, for Tyson's daughter, because that's all Tyson's job has been, is winning Survivor, and Boston Rob as well. So I'm glad that their kids got to experience it.
Yeah. And, I guess for Yule's kids, he's such a high up in his fancy job that I'm assuming this would be a completely different world for them to be seeing him
Yeah.
in. And
Oh,
kind of awesome.
I loved it. I loved every second.
So that's our loved ones visit done. That probably took us half an hour?
just like it took in the show.
Right. But you know what? I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Usually loved ones visits don't have much substance within the story, but I think just based on the season and Jeremy even said it himself. He goes, "This is the reason why I almost didn't play, but this is the reason why I am playing."
That sentence in itself just really summed it up. And it's an iconic season, and that was an iconic moment. All right, do you want to jump into the immunity challenge? Back to the game. We had the balancing table and the building blocks.
Yeah. So obviously everyone's loved ones visits reinvigorated them. They want this more than anything. And we've seen this challenge before. Jeff said it himself. One season it took over an hour. Another season it took 14 minutes.
I looked up about it. So Michelle's season is the one that took, I think it might have been the first time it showed up. I'm not sure. But Sydney was the one who won this one after an hour. Do you remember Sydney?
Sure.
And then the bodybuilder. And then in Game Changers, it took 14 minutes with Troyzan winning that challenge.
Wow. But he is a yogi kind of type of guy. So he probably zenned himself out and just did it.
So I'm pretty sure... I'm trying to remember if I remember this right. So we played this challenge and survival challenge, and
Troyzan, a variant of it.
A different version of it. Troyzan played the same challenge when he played survival challenge before he went out to Game Changers. And
he did?
Yeah, so he played this challenge, and survival challenge kind of takes this, note of Troyzan got to practice it at Survival Challenge, and then he went out and won it in Game Changers. So you're welcome, Troyzan.
Yeah. Not only that, if you guys ever end up on Survivor, you'd probably want to have done Survival Challenge first to get your practice running.
So are we set up for success, Djon? Because we played this challenge?
Gosh, I hope so.
When I did this...
I'm ready to stack some blocks on a stick. I'm ready to just jump on people's shoulders and get out there.
And I'll call that the cheerleading challenge, where we were hoisting you in the air. Oh my gosh.
Hannah.
When I played this balancing block challenge at Hearts of Reality for just 1 minute because my patience ran out, and I'm like, nah, not worth it. I don't want to keep doing this. I totally get why this challenge is so hard and sucks and is extremely difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see a lot of people out ahead, dropping their sacks, all that kind of stuff. But Jeff says that this is the first immunity challenge in 3 seasons, individual immunity challenge that Tony has ever won.
I know. I didn't realize that. Yeah. He won a reward challenge in Kageon, but that was it, I'm pretty sure. Okay. So, and after, obviously, I had very strong opinions of Tony after the last episode and the way that he communicated with Adam. But he takes this win and he goes back to camp and he's like, now everybody's going to come to me. Yep.
And so somebody comes to him and then he completely flips on them. What?
Yeah. So we had 2 people mad at Tony that he wasn't listening well, or he wasn't agreeing with them, which is what you're kind of supposed to do in Survivor, right? You're supposed to, if you're in an alliance with someone, you're making them feel really comfortable with you. You're showing them that you're listening. And apparently he did not do that well with Jeremy, and he did not do that well with Sarah.
Well, Jeremy's first thing was, we need to break up Sarah and Sophie. Tony in his head says, no, I'm working with Sophie and Sarah. So his response is, no, Ben would never do that. So out of the gate, a big flat no. And Jeremy goes, well, there's a lot of people. Let's remember that we're playing with a lot of people. We don't have to do everything that Ben wants to do. Obviously, we've seen that Ben's an interesting person to be able to work with. But in my mind, it seems like Jeremy is somebody who's willing to kind of work with things. And then you got people like Tony or Ben who
he did not want Jeremy to turn on Sarah and Sophie. He was, all right, bye, Jeremy.
So then we see Sarah with Tony, and Sarah says, we need to get Kim out. And Tony says, no, I'd rather Tyson. And Sarah's so angry, like aggressively to his face. She's like, why is it like talking to a rock when it comes to talking to Tony? Do you think it is purely him wearing the necklace that he's like, no, I get to call the shots this round?
Oh, yeah. When you wear that necklace, you have more leniency to say things that you want to say because you're not in trouble. But you could be in trouble later. Do you think that that Tony is saying no to Kim because he just doesn't want her out? He thinks that Tyson's the bigger threat, or is Tony protecting Kim and he wants Kim still in the game?
Well, my thing is Kim was part of the 5 with Tony, but so was Jeremy and Denise. And who was the other one? Sandra. So it was their 5. So when you think about it, Kim and Jeremy were the closest people to Tony before they merged.
Yeah.
And so now it's kind of like, oh, wait.
Tony's, you know what? I'm just thinking about scenes from next week. You know, like you just said, Tony was really close with Denise, Jeremy, Kim. And now we get the clip of him like next week being the double agent.
But yeah, the whole problem for me with that whole double agent business is Tony's the one that threw Jeremy's name out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So if he's trying to keep them all together, yeah, that doesn't make sense. They were close, but
here's my thing. This is Adam all over again. You know, trying to reassure somebody that they're good. However, you were the person trying to flip things, and you can't have it both ways. You can't tell Boston Rob that you're going to vote out his number 1 alliance and then expect him to want to work with him. And that's exactly what Tony's trying to do. I'm trying to tell you that everybody was going to blindside you. Oh, by the way, I was the one that prepared that, but work with me. No, like, you're going to get screwed. Like, Tony's playing too hard. For somebody who hasn't been playing very big up until this point, it just feels like he's playing
it's been like just building up, and it's finally starting to explode.
Well, this is his second time like playing for more than 6 days. You know, so it's just kind of like, it feels like he's actually trying to play now, and he's trying to lay low for the beginning. But I don't know that he has what he needs. He has 2 coins now. He might be able to buy something from the corner store, but he doesn't necessarily have any wiggle room with the people that he's playing with.
Yeah, so we get the plans in place. There's 5 and 5. We normally don't see big moves happening at 10. We usually see a safe vote, but we were really getting to this vote. A line was drawn, and we were going to see 5 versus 5. And then Jeremy goes, peace, I'm outie.
Well, before Jeremy says peace, we have 2 moments, which are my drop your buff moments.
Okay, go for it.
Sarah and Jeremy both say Jeff together, look at each other, and like, you go first.
So
I'm good. Jeff goes, let's go again. They both say his name again at the same time. Everybody's like, what's happening? Sarah's like, I'm good, because I'm assuming in her mind, you know, she's like, well, I want him to use whatever he's got.
Yeah,
because my thing.
She won the duel.
He might not use it. Right. And she goes, I'm good. And she's like, are you good? He's like, nope. Gets up, and he's out of there. Which, you know what? It could be considered a dick move to leave your side like that. But up until this point, it's just been voting blocks. There's not been any structured alliances.
And you have said before, because, okay, if Jeremy stays, it's so that, and without the steal vote, like, get the steal vote out of your mind. If Jeremy stays, we're pretty sure it's 5 versus 5. And you have a great theory of Survivor that sometimes you do need to go to rocks, and you do need to fight for the numbers. And that being said, you know, he left and he wasn't going to fight for the numbers. I think that there are 3 people who, if you take out the steal a vote, if you take out Jeremy leaving, there are people who should go to rocks for the numbers. Kim, Denise,
Correct.
Tyson. Michelle is okay. You know what? Actually, maybe Jeremy. But just thinking about, there's people who should not want to go to Rocks, and there's people who should want to go to Rocks. And
right.
Anyways, the Rocks are only going to happen if everybody is staying firm in their need for the numbers. Michelle, we saw her. Michelle ended up voting for Tyson. Michelle's not going to stick with that minority alliance. She's jumping ship.
Okay, so we need to talk about the numbers because I was so confused about the vote.
We were messaging for hours afterwards, just what happened? Who voted for who? Who voted for who?
So, okay, in theory, a seasoned audience member of Survivor will think, okay, we've gone from 10 votes down to 9 votes. Sarah plays a steal a vote, which means that now the group of 4 only has 3 votes and the group of 5 has 6 votes, which means this gives that group of 6 room to split the votes 3 and 3 because the other side can't,
because they only have 3 votes.
That 3.
Yep.
Right. So that leaves Michelle, Tyson, and Kim on the outs, and there's 6 votes over here. So in theory, you go, all right, we'll split it 2 and 2 because in the case of a revote, 2 people from that side can't revote. Only one of them can. We have the majority. Somebody goes home. Done deal.
Done.
End of story.
3-3-3.
Makes sense, correct?
Yeah.
Right. We don't need anybody's vote. However, we see a vote of 5-2-2, which in my mind is an extremely risky split because it only takes one person to flip, and then the person in the majority becomes the second option. So knowing that Kim has an idol, and the majority most likely knows that Kim is an idol because Sophie was part of the idol coming to fruition, right? So Sophie knows Kim as an idol. Sophie knows that Kim is probably going to play this idol. So you'd think, all right, so in the case that she plays this idol for someone correctly, we need to make sure that our second person has enough votes. That didn't happen.
I know.
Because, well, in theory it did happen because they only ended up with 2 votes. But if Michelle didn't vote with them, it wouldn't have happened. And the second most amount of votes would have been on Sophie if Michelle had voted for Sophie.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, what cojones do you have to have in order to be able to make a move like that? Because not only...
why even split the vote?
Exactly. Your 2 votes for Denise. Okay, yes and no, because those 2 votes for Denise, it still would have been a tie. It's just the risk of there not being that one person to make that third vote outnumber your votes. Michelle was not in that group when Sophie stood up and said, how about the 5 of us just go over here and decide who it is?
Did they fill in?
That's 5 votes.
Did they plan on telling Michelle who to vote for, and that therefore they knew they could do 2-2? I have no idea. And let's go to the current gripe with most Survivor fans right now is we're done with the whispering. We're done with not knowing what's going on. Yeah, I'm cool with tribals being fluid and things happening and changing. I love it. Love it. I just want to know what they're saying. Just tell me what they're saying. Get a cameraman up there. Get a GoPro. Shove it into the middle of their talking circle. We want to know what's happening.
That hasn't bothered me, honestly.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, in that moment, half of it, if not 90% of it, is false. It's not real. We're not going to actually get the correct answers out of those whispers, 90% of the time. But you also want to hear the lies. So for me, it's like, how did Michelle get the information to vote for Tyson?
Exactly.
I mean, in her vote photo, she's doing this, which makes me think that maybe somebody looked at her and said Tyson. And she just went,
I bet Nick did. Because I think her and Nick are still close.
Right, which is surprising to me that she wasn't in on that vote to begin with.
I know. So I think that...
But she goes close to Jeremy, so that's a good reason for why she would have been left out.
So Jeremy definitely was the original vote, right? We can say that for sure now.
Hands down, yeah.
So I think, so speaking of the voting confessionals and how Sophie looks like she's in a mugshot in her voting confessional, she looks so pissed. I bet that Sophie did want to do the 3-3-3 plan. She had to have wanted to do that, but I bet she was pissed that Sarah or someone else was not going for it.
Right. And here's the thing. She didn't vote for Tyson because, like what happened to Sarah in Adam's vote, she voted for the next person to make sure that she wouldn't be vulnerable.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, at the start of the voting, you hear Kim say, "Let's go for Sophie. She'll not see it coming."
Yeah.
I have a feeling Sophie saw it coming.
Yeah. About Kim playing the idol, man, did I want her to play it correctly so bad. You always root for the underdog, and I'm here rooting for Kim. I love Kim. I want her to go as far as possible. And I was just like thinking of how she had to play that idol. You know, Sarah plays the steal a vote on Denise. So Kim has to figure out, you know, using her poker alliance strategy, you know, is Sarah bluffing? Does she know that I know that she's bluffing? Does she know that I know that she knows that I know that I'm bluffing? Or, sorry, that got screwed up at the end. Yeah. So, I mean, I think...
I was just going to say, honestly, for me, it was my best case scenario, Kim goes home. That's my best case scenario. Because there's no way that I would want Sophie to go out over Kim. Are you kidding me? Sophie has been running this thing so brilliantly.
I know she has been, but I love Kim.
Kim didn't get the opportunity to defend her. She hasn't had the opportunity to play since last round when she had the immunity necklace and actually found herself in a majority. But all of a sudden, straight after that, she's in the minority again, which means she
has no friends.
She's really struggling. And I mean, that poker alliance is still being attacked because guess what? Jeremy, Tyson, Kim, they all came together like people were worried about.
Yul is shaking over a jury.
Yul was worried about.
Okay,
so now,
I have a random question that comes off of listening to what you're talking. If Sarah and Sophie make it to the end together, no matter who the third person is, let's just talk about Sarah and Sophie. Who wins?
Sophie wins.
You think so?
That's my opinion. Yeah, I do.
You think that she's been playing loud enough to get her resume built up, or we're seeing it?
I think.
Well, you know what? She did speak up this tribal.
Extremely well spoken. She's extremely well spoken. The way that she talks in confessionals about. I think that Jeremy is getting a group of the bigger guys together and they feel like they need to get rid of these. Like, she is so observant, and I feel like that she'll be able to say all of that. She'll be able to say, I found the immunity idol. I brought Sarah in close when I was in a tighter alliance with other people and I needed to bring her over as a number. I used my idol to bring her in. Like, I can see her undermining.
And that's what she did.
Sarah's a bad player. You know, that's what she did her first season.
That's how she beat Coach, is that she undermined him her whole jury speech.
Yeah. And she's very intelligent, incredibly smart. And I think Sarah getting to the end of an All-Stars season again would be a huge kind of accomplishment. But I think Sophie can kind of say, I was able to do it in a season of new people and of a season of seasoned people. So,
and maybe Sarah will have rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, you know?
And, you know, I have a feeling that Sarah's pitch at the end of this season would be, I wanted to play more like a real person this time around. And people, I've said it before, nowadays, Survivor isn't that game anymore. The game that I fell in love with, that's not what people vote for in the end. You know, it's now.
That's how Spencer lost in Cambodia.
I mean, it's how a lot of people are losing now. It's, in my opinion, I'm still thrown by the whole Cochran Dawn situation because Dawn played the ruthless game and didn't win, and that still baffles me because I think she was the most deserving winner out of a lot of people in a lot of seasons. And Cochran comes out with a winner.
Yep, they were pissed at her. The jury was pissed at Dawn.
Right, but she's like, I did what I was supposed to do this time, and that was the last season that we've seen, in my opinion, where that behavior wasn't rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, I played the harder game. I backstabbed people. I said lies to people's face. I played the hardest game. And the other person's like, I didn't have to do that and I'm here. And people are like, yeah, but they did do a lot more than you. And it's like, yeah, but you're causing chaos. You're causing drama. Like, is that to be rewarded? So in my mind, I'm like, it sounds like someone like Sophie would be rewarded because of her undermining or her behind the scenes, her standing up and saying, hey, why don't the 5 of us just go over here and decide? And hearing the jury be like, oh, like, but Rob would have done that.
Yeah.
Wendell would have done that.
They're doing respect. They're like, respect. Yul would have done that.
Absolutely. As there were so many people on that jury would have done the same thing. And they were just kind of like, oh, I wish that was me instead.
Oh, yeah.
And so I really do think that Sophie has a better chance against Sarah. But I do think that Sarah is getting an edit now where she's going to make it really far.
I now that we've talked about Sarah and Sophie in the end, I really want to see it.
Oh, and the thing is, I thought I wanted to see Sophie and Yul in the end. But now it seems like Sophie and, like, even Sarah posted on Instagram, the loved ones visit when you're already with your loved ones. And it's just her and Sophie hugging.
Oh, that is so cute.
Yeah. So, like, they're, like, tight, So for me, it's just kind of like
I would have never seen that coming. Never saw that coming with Sarah and Sophie.
I kind of feel like it's a bit of a JT Stevens pairing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Steven actually wins this time around,
Oh, my gosh.
So for me, it's like, this is actually the power duo of the season. Even though Sarah hadn't been doing all that much early on, I just think that she's definitely I honestly think that she's a pawn in Sophie's game, but that's also really hard because, Sarah is doing what's going to benefit her to get to the end.
Yeah.
But it's like, is it going to be enough where you can compare yourself to the person you're sitting next to? But then again, Sarah did sneak into the other camp in order to get a stealer vote, and it was because of her stealer vote that they had to move. Here's the thing, that stealer vote meant nothing. It meant nothing.
It just
because
solidified.
Put 4 votes then and have 2 votes on Denise. That's a 4-2-2 split. Wait. Yeah. That's 8 votes. Fine.
Oh no, we're going back into the vote. Oh no, my brain can't handle it. The numbers.
Then it would be like, no, then it would actually be a 3-3-3 split. Sophie should have told Sarah not to use it. And
maybe
then that way they could have
maybe that's why she was so pissed in her voting confessional. Sophie did not look happy.
Wait, there wouldn't have been a split at all. Oh gosh, these numbers. It was just too weird of a breakdown because it would have been, if Michelle had stuck with him, it would have been a 4. But if Michelle had flipped, it would have been 3. So look, a lot of this really hinged on Michelle's vote, but they left it to the last second to fill her in.
I know.
The last second.
And
it was
maybe
messy.
they knew that they could do it with Michelle. Maybe they knew Michelle would just go wherever, which is not good for building her resume if people are viewing her that way.
But also, she wasn't the target, so that is a good thing, She was available. So in my mind, the only people that really came out looking good this episode were Michelle and Denise because they weren't at risk. Well, technically Denise was at risk, but Denise didn't screw up a majority vote, and Michelle kind of just went with the majority. She at least voted for the right person. Okay.
I love how so we're talking about all the numbers and who voted where. Imagine that night at camp, them talking about who voted for who. I hope we get that footage. We haven't gotten that footage all season of getting back to camp. I hope we see them Michelle fessing up to who she voted for.
I hope that we see Michelle go, what happened, / this is what I heard, / I wasn't going to be in the minority because I have no interest in going to Rocks because I can keep staying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, do you want to talk about next week on Survivor? First we get Tyson flipping off all the bequeathing boxes, which was epic.
Right, because he has no coins, so he can't do anything.
next week on Survivor, Jeremy says everyone is lying. Kim says Tony is playing double agent. Sarah says, don't listen to what Tony tells you. This is what we're doing, which makes me think that Tony really is trying to flip a vote and Sarah's trying to prevent Tony from flipping.
Sarah's had enough of Tony. She's had enough.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I'll work with you if you're willing to work together, but if you want to call the shots, no.
I know. So do you think, are we getting Sarah versus Tony? Oh my gosh.
I would love that. I would love it.
Who's going to win, Sarah or Tony?
Sarah.
Ugh. Come on, Tony. Where's your magic bag of tricks?
All she has to do is walk up to Jeremy and say, Tony told me you wanted to vote me out and he wanted to protect me and Sophie. So we were going to vote for you. That's all it takes.
Yeah. Is she going to do it?
I mean, she could if she gets pushed.
So who are they going to vote out? Are they going to vote out Tony?
I think it might be Tony, it might be Jeremy. Because just because she says that to Jeremy doesn't mean that she works with him. She just makes him not trust Tony.
Yeah.
You know, weaken Tony. And then if Tony doesn't have anybody to work with, he has to work with her.
Wow. All right. That feels so right. I feel like I already know what's going to happen next episode. You called it.
I mean, they need to get Jeremy out of there. Like, it needs to happen because he's going to start winning immunity challenges. He hasn't yet, but, I mean, he won the first one, right? With Denise, yes. But it's like, it's getting too risky now. I think Nick's in a good spot. I think Michelle's in a fine spot. Because here's the thing. If they get to a final five with, like, Nick, Michelle, Ben, Sophie, Sarah, Sophie and Sarah are going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yep. You're right. So even though they technically are on the bottom of that alliance, they know that they could get rid of the big threats. You're right. Wow. Whew.
They need to keep Tony in.
I gotta be honest, I totally forgot Ben was still playing for a minute. I was like, oh yeah, Ben's there. Nick's there.
No, I mean, we're all a little surprised.
Ooh. What did you think about that group hug at the end?
That was so cute.
I don't know anybody who would not like it. It was amazing.
Like, and it was like Rob was like, hey Jeff, like it was just like such a Rob's like, and then I'll say, and everybody's like, okay, Rob, you can say it because you had your head turned into an idol. And just
you are the survivor god, so he could do whatever he wants. Yep, that was precious. That was so sweet.
And I did notice that like Amber was like the quickest person to run up to him and like get in. I'm like, who's that little one? I'm like, oh, Amber. I've really been loving Amber this season.
Yeah.
Like just getting some real moments from her because I think she can get like outshadowed by
totally everybody.
But it's like, but she's very, for me, when I listen to her confessionals, I'm like, damn, she's present. She's here. Like I'm
and like, it's and what we're missing out from her getting voted out. Boo. Well, I guess, we extend a group hug to everybody listening at home in the quarantine.
So just a quick question. We're still going to see another person come back in. This is the first time we've ever seen somebody from the Edge return to the Edge with the potential of coming back into the game. So Tyson could come right back in at Final Five.
Wow, that would be epic.
We got very little from Natalie, so I'm not thinking too positively about Natalie. We didn't get much from Danny, so I'm not feeling. We did get a lot from Ethan. So
you think it might be Ethan?
We could see Ethan come back at Final Five.
Oh, I would love it. I mean, I want Natalie to come back, but if Ethan did, holy crap.
We saw Parvati. We saw a bit from Parvati.
Yeah, we did.
I'm thinking somebody that we're not necessarily expecting is going to make it back into this game.
All right.
It might be Tyson again. Could you imagine? That would be insane.
Yeah.
And there's no way that he gets to the end and doesn't win if that's the case.
Right. Yeah. I'm ready for it. I know we have a 2-hour episode coming up. Is it this next episode is 2 hours or is it the one after?
It's the second last episode, the week before the finale.
Good.
So I'm wondering if that's when they're going to do
the Edge.
or if they're going to leave the edge for the final episode.
Okay, yeah. Whew. Well, I'm just glad that we're getting a 2-hour episode.
Because we're not going to get any Ponderosa videos until this season's finished.
Oh, I forgot about Ponderosa. Man, those are my favorite.
I know, and we're not going to get we're not going to get any Ponderosa until they go back. They've got 2 nights, and then they vote for a winner. So, yeah, I mean, that Ponderosa episode, I actually don't know that I ever watched the Ponderosa episode from Edge of Extinction. Did they have like an hour-long episode where they like weighed them all and fed them all? And
yeah. Oh, they had a great episode where the people from the Edge first come to Ponderosa. So it's like, I don't know how many people it was, like 6 or 7 people, or maybe more than that. Yeah. But it's a great. Really, it was a great video.
They had, they had a jury of 13 or 14 people.
Yeah, but I think there was still 6 or 7 in the game, maybe. When the Edge ended?
No, they went. The Edge ended. There was 6 people left in the game. There was only 18 people to start off with. Mm-hmm. 2 people quit, so it would have been 10 people.
Dang! Wow, it didn't feel like that. Maybe I just remembered only certain people from the video who were fun.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it.
They were good. Well, I've got nothing else for you besides dropping some handles and dropping some buffs.
Yeah, or in this case, a bandana, because I found this old guy, and I'm like, maybe I can just wear this like that.
He's got a Survivor Fiji bandana. It's epic.
Mm-hmm. It's the only good thing to come out of that season.
The bandana and Earl. Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, we're looking forward to next week of recording, and we hope that everybody's doing great.
You said you were going to drop handles.
Oh yeah. Instagram is Drop Your Buffs Podcast. Boom, boom, boom. My handle is Hannah Gillia. Dion's is Dion Alexander. Follow us, and
we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Everybody, drop your buffs. Drop your buffs. Everybody, drop your buffs.
Drop your buffs.
Everybody, drop your buffs.